Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirsho here, and now, before we do get started, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, we were in Granala, on the material plane. Deku met members of King Solomon's court, and whenever they tried to talk to him, Deku, he followed Sir Theodore's advice. He was firm, not harsh, and whenever he had to, he asked the question. They don't think that he's ready to go to the Feywild. But are any of them ready to go? Have they been? No one answered that question except for one person who went there by accident. And the moment they found themselves there, they immediately turned themselves around. Now, Deku, he does currently have his party. Pyra and Oliver, his trusty friends. Indra, the newest member of his party. And, surprise, surprise, Princess Lillian, who after discussing with the court, he discovered was suffering from the same ailment he was, seeing these dreams of this nobleman's dying. Now, Sir Theodore is also accompanying them to the Feywild, and he was quite surprised to see a lot of things. Deku, he's gone through quite a lot of improvements within the last month, and thanks to Sir Theodore, he's learned the Sylvan tongue, the language of the Fae. He's also learned to be careful and wary of their deals. However, putting all this into practice is gonna be the ultimate test, since there's quite a bit of rules to follow, and quite a lot of things that Deku is gonna have to navigate around. Now, with that being said, Deku got to meet an Archfey. She gave him her name, Saveti, and many people were staring at Deku as if he was a nine-headed hydra standing in that room. Since, apparently for an Archfey, she saw something new today. A human who has the potential for any type of magic. All 8 of the primary elements, and potentially many other elements he has yet to discover. This had him quite surprised. Along with that, there was her appearance. He was told to be wary of the Fae's charm. However, this woman was beautiful. Light gray skin, pulled back hair, dark eyes, and horns on her head. She looked more like how a demon would be described, but it was strange. With all the emotions and things bombarding him at once, he felt like he was being overloaded. However, he tried to keep himself reined in, and he was able to at least get to his room without making a deal. However, Pyra soon followed him to that room, since right now she does need some time to even herself back out, especially after some of the things she knew they were saying about her in the Twilight courtroom. Now, with that being said, let us currently begin. We'll start with Izuku. Izuku does lay there in bed, still thinking about a lot of things. He woke up this morning and the nightmare wasn't there. It didn't feel there at all. He got a restful night's sleep, and when he woke up, he found himself here. It took a minute for that intensity to re-register in his mind. This place is odd. Him going to sit up and go to turn. Seeing that right now Astoth does lay on a pillow on the ground. Him curled around something that does it a glow with a shine. And Deku, where he doesn't bend down and look at it, he does this won't laugh. Right now, him stifling it, as he does go to stare at the shiny object that was sitting on the table next to him. However, he does a stand, leaving the dragon asleep for now. There's still a lot he does have to think about. A lot he does have to do. Deku stepping out and onto a balcony that does sit against a door. Right now, him going to stare at the Feywild. Stare at this beautiful city. He's standing in a palace. It's got gemstones, ornaments, and many things lining its halls. Unbelievable things. He knew the Fae didn't believe in money, currency, not the same way as they do, but they still make it extravagant, make this place seem like it's something directly out of a dream. It's the temptation to steal. He knows that. He's already quite wary about keeping Astoth here, let alone bring him on this adventure. But he couldn't part with the dragon. He was hoping that Lillian could look after him, but with Sir Theodore also following along, that is not a possibility anymore. And while he could leave him on the material plane, with time passing differently here and there, he's not sure how that might work. And right now, Deku, he does just want to sit down. Him with a bit of space all around him. And Deku, he does go to begin meditating, trying to focus, sucking in a breath and letting it out. Just trying to resteady himself. Everything feels intense. The smells in the air, the way the mana is. It's almost like moving through syrup when you walk. But the miasma, the feeling of mana that's triggering this sense in his mind, it's hard to describe. These smells are more intense. This place smells fancy. There's no other way to describe it. Rich herbs, rich spices. He can smell the food cooking downstairs and he knows he can't eat it. And that's another problem he does have. They did bring their own travel rations. And they do have their own area to cook. But with how long that might last, it definitely is up for debate. He would rather get this mission done quickly and get out of here. Though he is quite curious about the Archfey. If she wanted to make a deal with him, study him, if he does have her in his pocket, if she owes him a favor, that could be good. He can use that to guarantee peace. Though he would have to pay something. And that is the problem he does mainly have. Right now, Deku sitting there. Before there is, or time does begin to pass. And right now, Oliver, he does a knock on the door again. Deku gonna walk back into the room and go to unlock it, bringing his hand up and using Mage Hand. The man gonna step in as Indra is behind him. And when the door is at a close, Deku does turn. Right now, him going to look over and see if Pyra is awake. And she does go to somewhat sit up, yawning and asking the two about exactly what's going on. Before Oliver does get a turn looking at Deku, who does go to bring his hands up and begin to wave them through the air. Before he does it to cast Silence. In the air around them, it does begin to glow. Deku stepping in as the line on the ground, indicating the area does glow brightly. And Pyra does get a salt and jump up. Right now, her immediately going into adventuring mode, asking what's going on. Nothing. We need to make plans. Yes, the knight is correct. I've not been able to locate Sir Theodore. What were you doing? I was out on the balcony meditating. This place is still kind of getting to me. But I'm fine for right now. We could do a little bit of combat training in a minute, but what about you? You alright, Indra? I'm fine. This place is lined with gems and gold. There's a lot I'm worried about with Astoth here. And I don't mean to imply, but I can control myself perfectly fine. If I do steal something, I'll make sure I'm not caught. See, that's the thing. We're dealing with an Archfey. And I don't know exactly how strong they are compared to dragons, but Sir Theodore was not happy. He was terrified. Yes, I'm aware. I'm trying to keep myself on a leash, as much as I do hate those words. Now, if I do get stuck with a deal, I will at least make sure they are in my debt, or it is something I can live without. Does that seem fair? It does. Though I'd rather not have to pull your ass out of the fire. You're my responsibility because of your dad. Is that so? Yes. If anything happens to you, he'll kill me. And then he'll fight the gods if he needs to. Listen, we can work together. We could be friends maybe. But if you're going to be hostile and against me on this, it's not going to work. Just listen. Be careful, all right? It's kind of on all of us. And with tensions high right now because of this assassination, it's going to be a problem. Speaking of which, that does give me another thing. What is it, hero? I'm wondering exactly how long ago that was. Plus, we don't even know what court they're from, so... Yeah, that is true, actually. They're not even using his name. They're not? No, they're not. To use his name is interesting. Though they're calling him by his title plenty, but even then they're telling us to disregard it. They just call it the subject of the matter. Subject? He's a victim in this. I understand that. They do not care. They wish to resolve this matter, figure out who the murderer is, and then move on. I seriously don't understand them. And that's the problem. Correct. Well then, I believe that we should eat, and then we should go about our days. I can begin with preparations on a few things. You and Oliver are going to do combat training, correct? We'll try to keep our routine. For right now, though, we need to make sure everything seems like it's natural. I can inform Princess Lillian about it myself. I know Theodore might be watching over her, but he himself might have his own personal matters to attend to. I remember him mentioning something, but he doesn't really tell me anything. He lets you fend for yourself. He does that. Though it's made me pretty good at being an adventurer. And when I saw it smile, shooting back to the dragon. And she is a bit annoyed. As Deku, he does, gonna bring his hand up and gonna snap his fingers, ending the silence spell as he does gonna stand there. And right now Pyra does a jump up. As Deku, he has to open his inventory and begin to pull some things out. And everyone, they do to make their way down the hall and into a room, where they can begin preparations on their meals. And Deku, while they're doing that, he does currently get a turn. Right now standing outside of his door and seeing the pile of gifts people seem to have left for him. And that, it definitely is a little concerning. And this, it does slightly annoy him. However, there is where a man does come walking down the hall, Deku looking up and seeing him. And the man is going to watch as Deku, he does going to move up onto his feet after being on one knee. Him making his way over and bringing his hand up. You must be the hero. Holding it up. May I have your name? I am Kefren. No, you may not. Though you may address me as the hero. Deku shaking his hand, telling him. He's quite wary of that, as he would understand. I see. Well, I'm glad to have caught you. Do you have a minute to talk? Chat about something? If this is about making a deal, I will respectfully decline. I'm not here to make one. I'm here to try and figure out what's going on about the murder. We do not know if he was murdered. Right now, there's many things floating around. And there is concerns about being another Archfey. Really? Yes. Corleroth, the Trickster King. He is another powerful Archfey. It was quite well known that the victim, he would speak out about many things. What? Sorry, am I moving a little too fast for you? Yes, just... I'm still not used to everything here. Kyrolith. Or how is it phrased in the proper common tongue? Kyroloth. Kyroloth? Yes, that is how you pronounce it. I see. So, this victim spoke out about it a lot. He was not happy with the Archfey? Yes, he was not. Saveti, she is quite powerful. However, many people are concerned about her enemies. Those two have been... Well, how is the proper term for you? I'm not sure. It is quite complicated, their mental affairs and their physical ones. However, that is another issue. If this is another Archfey being involved instead of you humans, then there could be other problems. Now, I may talk to you later. I do believe that you do have some gifts to sort out. Him holding something up. And Deku, he does that turn, seeing a knife in his hand. It with the hilt towards him. And Deku, he does get to reach for it. Him immediately going to stop before looking at the man, who does express something for him to own, a gift of his own. And Deku does stare at that knife. It looks nice. It looks interesting. It's certainly something elvish. No, it's Fey metal. The man's staring at Deku, who does try to think of a way out of the situation. And the man, he does with a small grin at the side of his face crack a bit. As Deku, he does have his hand with his palm down towards the ground. However, he has to close his hand to a fist, for he has to flip it and have a gold coin in his hand. And the man does just don't look at him surprised. I do believe that this should be a fair gift. For this exchange? And the man, he does try to hide the scowl, the disdain. And Deku does bring up his right hand, taking this fancy knife from him. As he does go to take the coin and express, this certainly is something. He does believe that he will have something else for him as well. This is quite an unfair exchange. He will find something to equalize this out. Something of value. Him turning and storming away. And Deku, he is quite surprised at that. Not even an hour and he almost got tricked. It would have been rude to decline that. Maybe start with the silver next time. Definitely the silver. Though that guy's going to be back. Kefrim. Powerful indeed. Deku making his way down the hall, looking at this knife and inspecting it. It's quite beautiful, in fact. In his mind, that was a fair trade. Though to the elf, no, the Fae, it may not be. And right now, Deku, he does go to sit down, talking about it with his party members, as he does take a jam and go to spread it across a thick slice of bread. Right now, him expressing a few things, taking a bite through the jam and going to talk. Now, we do have a little while later, where some members of the Fae, they are making their way around the palace. They're handling a few things. And currently Deku and Oliver, They are in the courtyard, going over quite a lot on their own training regiment. Some people do get to walk past. Some guards do stare at them, seeing what they're doing, especially considering the fact that these outsiders are brandishing weapons. Though when they see the hero of the hero's party, they are quite intrigued. As Deku, he does stand there with his blade, him going to swing it around. And the Nodachi, it does go to swish through the air, Deku feeling its strange power in his hands. And Oliver, he does stand there with his own blade, him trying to think of a lot that he does have. He can feel this place messing with his own mind. Keeping himself steady is a challenge. But that is what he does like. He sees Deku struggling with this, and with him being able to keep himself together, that makes him feel better. Mentally, him and Deku are having a same challenge, and that can be seen in their sword fighting. Deku's trying to be calm, and that aggression that he does have when he does go to strike, it is a little dull. Though his training, it does kick in a bit better. His instinct, his battle prowess, it does show. And that, it does make Oliver feel a bit better. Not cocky, but definitely a bit more proud of this. And someone they currently are watching. As right now, a servant does stand there. Oliver clashing blades with Deku, as Deku, he does it a pullback. Him going to bring his blade up as Oliver, he does try to strike out of the way, he does bring his blade up. Him moving in and bring up the second blade in his hand. And Deku, he does go to step to the left and go to drop his hand. Him throwing his other hand as if he's going to do a fist. Right now, Deku swinging his hand and going to switch as he's going to turn it and grab his blade. Him being able to swing it upwards and deflect that knife as he does go throw up his foot. Him kicking Oliver in the chest as he does go flying backwards. And Deku, he does stare at that. Right now, him going to lay down, trying to figure this out as he is on the ground. And Izuku, he does go to quickly run over, dropping his weapon. Him checking on his friend and asking if he's alright. Oliver sitting up and talking about it. Okay. Maybe they'll take a break now. Quite interesting. Them both turning. As there is where a Fae, she does come walking up. And Izuku does recognize her from yesterday. When he stepped out, she stepped into that courtroom. And she does stare at him. That same expression on her face. She looks odd. She does have the same light gray skin tone as Saveti. Her eyes are a little different in her hair. It does show that same white color. This surprising Deku. The two must be related. Maybe? He definitely has seen quite a bit of Fae since his arrival here. Though Saveti and her do share many similarities. Things he hasn't seen in others. And Deku, he does stare at her. Before he does a blink, realizing he's been staring. And Fova does step forwards, bring her hand up and expressing, "It is nice to meet him. She is Fova." Again, as she has said, or, well, there's a lot going on. She has heard that he is here to investigate the victim's death, along with many other things. Deku, realizing he may have been impolite, stepping forwards and expressing, his title is Dragon Slayer, or Hero. He does not mean to be rude, it's just, he's made many observations in a short time. You are still not used to this land. No, I do apologize. Deku is sitting there quietly, and when Rita doesn't realize what he just said, she has a smile, expressing, "It is quite alright. There is a lot currently happening. She will not try to strike a deal with him, nor will she currently try to bargain with him. Though she does make many observations as well of him. Your strange proficiency with magic, and the aura surrounding you." "My aura?" "Yes, your essence. It is unique." Her looking above him, and this does make Deku a little surprised, turning his head and not seeing anything himself. And she does look back down, expressing that she herself is trying to be well mannered. But his weapon is not attuned to him, is it? She senses great magic from it, but he has not connected to it. "Oh, what do you mean?" "Your weapon is enchanted. However, it is odd." Him walking back over, picking the weapon up, and going to stare at it. And whenever she does turn her head, fully looking at the blade, she does confirm her own suspicion, knowing exactly what that weapon is made from. And this, it does most make her crack her smile, since that weapon is as dangerous as she believed. It has powerful enchantments, and he isn't even using them. It's terrifying. It is worrisome as well. And Deku, he has to turn back, her smiling and expressing. He must attune to his weapon. Only then will he truly unlock that weapon's power. If that weapon is what she does believe it to be, she has heard some stories of it. Some things adventurers have given away coming through their land. And that is one thing. It is something to know. If he does plan to wield it, then attune to it. Then truly unlock its power. Why are you telling me this? I thought you said you didn't want to bargain with me or make a deal. Currently, that didn't mean I didn't want to make a deal with you. That is all. Now, my grandmother wishes to speak to you, and I am quite glad to have had this interaction. Remember what I said. Attune to your weapon, and you will find more power within it. Her turn to Oliver. And the man, he does go to bring his hands up, expressing, he is the knight. That's all he is. They were just doing some light training. He's worried if they may have disturbed people in the area. It is quite alright. The guards usually do train around this time. You are not being rude, but would have liked to known if you were going to be up early. Her going to turn, quickly walking away as Deku, he does go to bring his hand up, resummoning his sheath for his weapon. Before he does, gonna put it in his inventory and gonna follow. Him still quite intrigued about what she did say. She was trying to emphasize that point, quite blatantly. It will have to be something to look into later. And currently, when he does gonna walk into a room, he does gonna find that him and Savetti are alone. And she does just want to sit there looking towards him. And Izuku, he does want to feel a bit of tension. He's got one Fae behind him, one who does want to make a deal, one who he has apologized to by mistake. Though they didn't take that opportunity to cheat him, they gave him information, and he is worried about what they might want in return. Deku turning to her and asking, quite blatantly, if what she told him before was free information, or if she does want a bargain to be struck. That was for free. Do not be so concerned. We Fae cannot tell a lie. I know, but you can't tell a blatant lie. Half truths are still lies. Her smiling at him, and that smile, it does feel like it's on a razor's edge, as she does a turn and leave. Deku turning back to the woman. As right now when he does that turn his head, he does find that he's sitting down in a chair he didn't place himself in. And that does give him a moment of confusion. Before the woman does get a lean forwards, expressing to Izuku. She is quite sincere about this. There are many things to discuss. Now, where to begin? Sorry, that disoriented me. You are using manners. I believe that does not break any sort of taboo you think we may have. Though, I am not so sure you want to keep using that term. I see. I'm just trying to use my manners, if that is alright. I know your customs are different from stuff I've become used to. And even then, they're different from where my homeland is from. Please, do go on. I see. I'm quite curious about this. You are from the material plane. That is where I arrived. I was from Japan originally. Were you now? Yes. I've come from another world before that. Another world? And you find yourself here? Yes. That is correct. Quite interesting. Quite interesting indeed. One of my people has informed me that you met a god. Well, yes, I've met Ritus whenever I took on this task. He found me and asked me a question, if I could help. I accepted. And not too long ago I met Alino. Alino? You've met the goddess of death? Yes, I have. That was quite an experience, and I do have to say, your auras are similar in a way. I see. Well, that is quite interesting. I have multitudes of questions, but we may save that for some other time, perhaps. We may be able to strike a bargain indeed. However, for now, I believe it is good to discuss the situation. Okay, that is fine with me. Right now, I need to ask about the victim. Anything that we might know, you might know. The room, was it tampered with? Was anything happening? Is the body gone? No. I've made sure to section off that area. No one can enter that room. The moment a servant discovered the body and reported it, I made sure to lock it. No one and nothing can pass through that area. Okay, but you left things as they were for a month? Not necessarily. Well, that situation may have happened for a month ago, to your perspective. I have used magic to make sure that that room is not touched in the slightest. I don't understand. I used magic, and I made sure it was left as it was found. For whenever I do unlock that door, time will resume. Time? Wait, you froze time in there? Yes. It'll be like you're walking in the morning after. be it if not a few hours. If the culprit did attempt to mess with that room, I would know. I've only used one word to lock it. You must know that word to break it, and you cannot do so without alerting me. Now, do you have questions? I have many, but the number one question is, who's been messing with my dreams? Who reached out to me? I've lost sleep over this. I've practically memorized how everything happens, be it a few details here and there. I see. And you did not catch the culprit? See them? Unfortunately, no. But I'm hoping with more information, more observation, I can start piecing these together. If whatever is going on with me is using magic, I need to know who cast that spell first off. Second off, this is a murder. That I know for sure. I see. Well now, her holding up her hand, and Deku does stare at the strange thing in it. Her expressing, this is going to be quite simple. Her going to bring it up to her mouth and go to blow it through the air. And Deku, he does go to blink around and look through the dust. Right now, him turning his head and going to hear one simple word in his mind. As he does stare at that, the word's in Sylvan, and it does translate. And that, it is quite interesting. Right now, him going to stand in front of the door and see that the doorknob, it isn't there. It's just gone. Saveti can manipulate the space around here. Manipulate time as well. Okay, yeah. Now we start to understand that arch in the archway. Okay. How can he use this? How can he go about this? River. The doorknob going to reappear. And Deku does see it coated in a strange blue glow as he reach down and grab it, before he has to turn it and open it. And whenever he does so, he does get a step into a room he's seen probably 50 times or so. It's strange. Finally stepping into this room, being here, it's incredible. Deku taking in a breath. There's that smell in the air. The smell of ash and... oh, God. You think a corpse couldn't rot if time is frozen. Him walking over, looking at the glass on the ground, turning to look at the wine, walking over to the fire and bending down. And his theory is correct. It does still feel warm. That's super weird. Okay. So what does he have? Him turning, looking at the man who does sit there looking up at the portrait. And this, it does intrigue Deku. Walking back over and turning next to the man, looking up at the portrait that does show him and his son. Okay. Perfect. So he's looking up at that portrait, but it's just him and a family member. His wife isn't there? Okay, so usually in cases like this for murder, the spouse would be the first one who's suspected. The fame morality system is odd, so this is probably more likely the case, but then there's also people who might threaten his position. Or who may already be members of the court. Ironically, if this was a human situation, So it'd probably be a lot easier. But Sealy, unsealy, both sides have their own agendas. And they're not exactly good on either side. Okay, so basically everyone in the court is potentially the murderer. Anyone up and coming to the court is potentially a murderer. And even this other archfey he's heard about could be involved. And the murderer could be long gone after a month. He needs some sort of sign. Something. Deku walking over to the body, looking back at the man and staring at him, trying to think. His eyes are... Ugh. They're not glossy. It's weird. Okay. He's staring at a particular location, the painting, but he's also leaned back in a chair. He dropped the glass whenever he drank the wine. Deku turned to it, and he was going to read the name. Blood Red Brandy. And that, it does kind of concern him. Bringing it up to his nose and taking a whiff. Him not smelling any type of poison. Though he does get the strong smell of blood. And that might be why he does have that name. Deku looking in the glass that does still clatter to the ground. He's seen it hit over 1,000 times. He can hear that sound still in his mind. Still see it falling. All these shards, all these things. Okay, but this does raise a question. The Archfey must have limitations. She could have prevented the murder otherwise. She can't reverse time, but she can definitely freeze it. That is a possibility. Okay, so that already is a limit to Fey magic. But the ceiling is still pretty damn high. This man was murdered. The wine, the list of suspects, and people here. Him trying to think. He needs more to go off of. He needs to figure this all out. Right now, him stepping through the door and gonna close it. And there is where Savetti does go to reappear. Right now, her standing in front of him whenever Deku does that turn. Him a little surprised, but really, he's not too sure what he should have expected. Her asking him if he does have any thoughts on the matter. I do. Could you put the ward back on this room? Yes, I can put it back in the room. It will take a minute, however, I can begin casting soon. Are you going to investigate further inside that room? Yes. I need to gather my party members. It's become quite apparent that I'm not well versed in things of this matter. But I will need a list of the people involved in the court. Did he have an apprentice, somebody? Someone who he taught? Potentially. He did teach a few people many things. I know. I met with Kefren. He mentioned he taught a lot, and he was even quite vocal about another archfey. Yes, he was. He didn't like him, though I doubt the trickster would send someone to kill him. What do you mean? Violence is not permitted on castle grounds. I have made sure of it. I have created wards in such a way that you cannot kill someone, at least with the intention behind it. But that doesn't make sense. I understand. In human terms, you do not get it. If I were to try and strike you down right now, I could. That is because I control the magic. If I ordered a guard to attempt to kill you, the blade wouldn't hit your head. It wouldn't even touch your skin. It would stop. They'd freeze and be paralyzed. Then the matter could be taken care of. So, the murderer manage to poison the wine and get by your rule? Yes, that is most troubling about this. But it isn't even possible. Constructs bring the wine. They handle many of the household tasks. And that is another issue. I see. So they didn't know the wine was poisoned. And the construct who did this has already been destroyed. Why? In case there was something wrong with it. That is why. I plan to investigate further along with this hero. Now, you may leave. Me and my party will get here in a few minutes. Can you have a guard outside this door? No one in or out? That glass. I want to inspect it, so do you think that you can use magic to reform it? I can mend it simply. I can put the spell into place. However, it will need to be more delicate. It is made of fine wares. I see. Well then, I want to get a closer look at it. See if maybe the poison wasn't in the wine. See if it was put in the glass. That is quite interesting. It's a possibility. But I'm not sure. Deku going to bow, expressing that he will be back soon. Right now he has a turn, walking away still with a few thoughts in his mind, trying to think about the situation. There's a strange smell in the room he can give to decay, though there's something else there. Ash. Something odd about this. Okay, so everyone in the court is a potential murderer. And right now, he's got to figure this all out. Okay. He's got to question people, track some down, and think. But it's going to be hard to try and question another Archfey, especially when they're probably not even in the same land as them. And that's another issue Deku is trying to sort out in his mind. As right now he's at a walk down the corridor and thinking. And with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.